Everybody, it is me, it's Chris Klein. I'm here to talk to you today about how you're going to be able to identify and respond to email threats just wildly faster with PhishER. Before I go too far into that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. I'll try to get through it pretty quick so we can jump into the good stuff. Number one, if you're having any audio or video issues, usually you can just give a quick refresh and that'll make everything come out nice. If that's still not working and you've got options to use Chrome, that is the one that we've found to use that has the least problems. If you're still having troubles, this will all be recorded. All three slides that I've got will also be there. But the big thing to know is it's not just me here. There's a whole team behind me. Anytime while I'm going through this and explaining what's going on, if you've got any questions, go ahead and pop it in the Q&A, and I'll get you answers right as I'm going along. And then if I end up with any time, then I might even take some Q&A live. And then that's me down in the corner. We're here. We're going to talk about PhishER. It's still just one of my favorite things here. So I hope that you will learn some cool stuff and love it too. So let's talk before we dive into like how it actually looks and functions. Let's talk at the high level. How does this work? Why did we build it? And what's the process, right? So we have this situation where a whole lot of bad actors are constantly sending phishing emails, trying to trick your end users, trying to get them to, buy gift cards or give them access to critical processes, things like that. And this has been going on for a while, nothing new. It does seem to be ramping up, but it always does. And what we've done is we built this tool. We call it the PAB, the Phish Alert button. And what it does is it's a single button that goes into your end user's mailbox, and it gives them this button that they can press and say, I don't trust this. There's something sketchy about this email. I just don't feel safe. And it encourages them to, you can encourage them to take this, kind of more investigative approach to email. Think a little bit before they click. If they click this button, the PAB, that will send that email. It'll package it all up, and it'll shoot it over to PhishER. Keeps all of its headers and everything intact. Pops it over to PhishER, where your SOC team can get in there and start analyzing things, right? So PhishER, before humans get involved, it's going to blow that message up into all of its parts and pieces, do a little bit of analysis, pipe all that into PhishML, which is our machine learning module. Then that'll put some tags on there. It'll also go through our rules engine. That's Yara. There's system rules that are already in by default, or you can customize this to do all sorts of crazy stuff. That will also add tags. You'll use those tags to give yourself a little bit of a bias and kind of get to the heart of whether this email is good or bad, and hopefully quickly. And then also, and the part where this really gets cool, is you can use those tags to turn on actions. Those actions will start automating away some of those bits that you're going to be doing over and over again, responding and telling people that it's good or bad, etc. And then finally, to kind of wrap it all up with a little bow, we've got PhishRip, and what that's going to do is go out and, because you had one user that reported this message, it's going to go out and find that actual threat once you determine it to be a threat and rip it out of the rest of your entire organization's mailboxes. So with that, that's the kind of big overview here. So let me go ahead and start sharing, because I'm a big fan of showing. Alrighty. All right, you should be seeing this now. So this is the dashboard of PhishER. This is what things are going to look like when you first come in. Well, after you start getting messages in. Because remember, messages come in. You can either have this where messages are coming in from your Phish Alert button, or however else you want to, get them in. As long as they go to this reporting email, that's how messages come in. And then you will start getting these metrics of how many messages are coming in, whether you've categorized them as clean spam or threat, and what priority you've given those messages, anything from low all the way up to critical. And this is going to be a really important part here. Notice that I said you a lot here. This isn't something that is going to come in here and make all the decisions for you. I love AI, I love ML, but I also am a little bit of a skeptic, and I want to be able to trust that something is working before I start making changes. So what does that mean? That means that, for example, plenty of organizations say that threats are their highest priority, right? If you've got this threat, I need to jump on it. It needs to be the first thing I see. I need to go look at this and make sure that I'm looking at them right when I first log into PhishER, and I need to go in there and start analyzing them. Totally fine, makes a lot of sense, right? What surprised me was I ended up getting a lot of people that said clean messages were their highest priority. Getting those messages that are actually not a threat, that are legitimate, they needed to get those back to their end users. And once I started talking with some clients, it's because, what if it's an invoice that needs to be paid? What if you're trying to, get a survey out? What if you're trying to, make sure that your employees are used to certain brand messaging and everyone needs to know about it? If they are unsure about your messages, you need to be able to build this credibility with them and start partnering up with your end users. So I don't think I've got anyone that says that spam messages are their highest priority, but the point of this is that you get to choose this. This is all on you. So you'll be able to come in here and key this around to whatever works for you. So let's talk, before we even go anywhere else, let's talk like if you first just get this, right? Number one, grab your reporting address, put it in your PAB settings, and that's going to let your Phish alert button automatically send things into PhishER. Next step, the very second thing, come in here, turn on PhishML, set it to about 95 to start. What this is going to do is allow PhishML to analyze every message as it comes in. So every time your user reports a message, it comes into this mailbox, and they say, all right, PhishML's looked at it, and I think it is this percentage clean spam or threat. So you'll get three numbers, and it'll say, I think that this message is 85% chance a threat, 14% chance it's spam, and 1% chance it's clean. Something like that, right? Once you've got that, you'll be able to come over to your inbox, and it'll look a lot like many other inboxes, right? But, excuse me, you'll also get a little bit of extra data here. You can see there's the category over on the left, and then we can see who reported the message. Because remember, almost everything that comes in here and in the base setup is coming in because you had an end user say, I don't trust this. This is a sketchy message. There's something about it that makes me feel unsafe. So this is coming in here, and we can then see the tags. So let's take this one here because it's got a bunch of nice, pretty tags on it. The red one, the red tag says that VirusTotal has scanned this message and found something bad about it. The purple one, PhishML, says PhishML looked at this message and found it to be a threat. And then these gray ones are custom, and then they say, I think that this message says the word invoice in it, in this case. But you can customize those to do whatever you want. In this case, it's pretty easy to see where it says the word invoice. It's right there. I don't know how much time any of y'all have spent in a SOC, but whenever I see something with the word invoice or trying to get my employees to, pay an invoice, that gets my hackles rising, and I want to check it out. So before I even get in this message, I've got this bias, and that's what these tags are for, right? Just to give you a bias. Everything we're doing is trying to get you to the point where you can identify whether this is good, bad, or indifferent as quick as possible, and then be able to respond quickly and uniformly. So before I go in here, I already think there's something weird going on. I can click in, I can see the message. All right, I've got Ricky Blicker at atonline.com. He says that I need to pay $1,000, and I can see that PhishML thinks there's a 98% chance it's a threat. I know that VirusTotal is bad, but I can dig in. I can see actual raw message if I want to dig in. Headers, I can sort by standard, non-standard. If there's something in particular I want to find, I can dig in here. Any of these attachments, these are the ones that will get scanned by VirusTotal. I can see here that this image, this is definitely an invoice I did not want to pay. Any URLs, that'll also get scanned automatically by VirusTotal. If they've gotten any, like URL protections or anything like that, we'll also we'll also explode those URLs out into where they're actually going. This match rules. This is your list of any custom rules you've matched. So that's that invoice. And then finally, a full audit log of everything that happened to this message, saying why it got where it is, right? So from here, I can look at this and I go, all right, this is definitely a threat. It's resolved. It's a high priority. And if I want, I can even come in and start doing things like, all right, send an email and go back to the original reporter and say, hey, who reported this? Karita. I could send that email and say, hey, Karita, you found a real one. Thanks for, being vigilant and thinking before you click. Or I could, pop it up higher up in the SOC team and actually attach the original message and some links to PhishER and say, hey, we found another one. Ricky Blicker is at it again, or something like that, right? So I can take a bunch of actions and I can be pretty uniform. And then I can go on and say, that one's done, let's go on to the next one. And then I can dig in and look at the message and see, all right, this just looks like spam, right? And I can do this analysis. I can go on to the next one. And I can do the analysis and go on to the next one. But that's not really going to save me much time, is it? It's really, we're talking about saving a lot of time. We want to be able to build this group together and say, all right, by training our end users and working together to explain to them why things are dangerous, we can find the actual threat emails quickly and respond to them. So how do I start saving time? Doing it one at a time isn't going to work. All right, so that's rooms. That's my setup to come over here to rooms. Rooms are going to be basically an easy way to group messages by URL, similar attachments, same senders, same subject lines, or any other things. You can say, show me every message where someone has spoofed that their email address is our CEO or something like that. And from there, I can say, oh man, new invoice with a big number 7. We just looked at a message that said new invoice, right? So if I'm doing that, from here, I can see that I can go to my inbox, I can go over to the dashboard, or I can go to reports. So if I go to the inbox, I'll get just the list of messages with the same subject line. If I go to the dashboard, I get to see how these messages have come in over time. Super cool, especially when you've got like a campaign running against you. Gets really, really cool. Finally, I can go over to reports, and I'll show you more of those later. But it's kind of digging in. What's different about these messages? All right, they've all got the same subject line, but are there commonalities in the attachments that are being sent? Are there commonalities in the people that are reporting it, that are sending it, et cetera, et cetera? But for here, for the quickest way that I'm going to save time, let's go in here. And we can see it's not just one message. It's not just reported by one person. We've got a few people here, 7 people here, that have all reported what looks to be the same message. So I can dig in, and since I know about this, and I've already done my analysis, I can go and do 7 at a time. Cool. Definitely faster than doing it 1 at a time, but I've still got a really big problem here. And, this is the place where I look out over the crowd and say, who can point it out? Right? The answer is, if we look at these dates here, we can see that, a few days ago, I got a few emails. A couple days ago, got a couple emails. Today, got a couple emails. What's going to happen tomorrow? Right? This is going to happen again tomorrow. Probably going to happen the day after. Probably going to happen again next week. Right? Ricky Blicker, why would he stop? He's going out and he's asking for $1,000. If 1 in 1,000 people give him $1,000 and he sends 100,000 emails, that's a lot of money, right? This is a job for a lot of these people. So how do we get in here and say, all right, we know that there's a problem and we know that it's going to happen in the future. We're getting pretty good at reacting. We're finding out whether the message is a threat quickly. But how do I take it to the next level? How do I stop being quite so reactive and become proactive? So the easiest way is to then pop over to rules. And if I come over to my rules and I say, all right, find me anytime someone says, Ricky Blicker at online, and then add the tag of bad actor invoice on it. Now, whenever I go back over to my inbox, if I actually saved it, the next time this comes in, I don't just have these tags on here. Now I see one and I see bad actor invoice. I go, oh, I bet it's another one. And I look at it, and again, remember, this is the bias. It's fine for you to build a rule and it to not even work, right? Because you'll be able to test this. This is that bit of, telling you, I want you to be able to prove that things work before you automate things. So you get in here and you get the bias and you say, oh, it's another one. And you look at it and you find your PhishML and you do your analysis. It is another one. You send those same emails that you were doing and you mark it threat. And hopefully you did that faster than the last time it came in. And then tomorrow, when he does it again, you see these and you start getting in here and you recognize it faster and you recognize it faster and you send the same emails and you do it over again. And then you trust that things are working, right? So now I'm doing the same thing over and over again. So what do I do to stop that, right? How do I stop doing the same things over and over again? This is the information age. I'm supposed to be able to take advantage of things, right? Good. That's actions. So what we're going to do now is we're going to say, all right, we've got our tag, and we know that whenever it gets this tag, it's Ricky Blicker, and I want to come in here, and I want to automatically come in, mark it as resolved, say it's a high priority, call it a threat, and then I get to do some fun things here. One, those emails, I can send them. If I saved a template, I'm just going to click right in there. And then, what else can I do? I could send it over to a syslog. So whatever SIM you've got, I can go out Ceph, Leaf4, JSON, basically any SIM that's out there. So what do I want to do? I can send this over to my SIM. I can send it via webhook. Because as weird as it is, whenever we were first in there and looking at this and I was talking to clients and figuring out what it is that PhishER wanted to do, and we're at the actual drawing board, we said, man, we need something for whenever a message bypasses every layer of defense in depth you've got. Our whole thing is to train the end user, right? That's the KnowBe4 thing. Make humans better at this. Enable your employees to make smarter security decisions every day. That's what we want to do. So we get in here and we say, we've trained your users. Unfortunately, there's this time where this message came in, you've got your secure email gateway, you've got all these protections in place. Somehow this message got through, but because you trained your user, Karita looked at this and she said, there's something sketchy about this. I don't like it. And now let's get in here and mark it up. And then let's send it out via webhook and say, all right, any URLs that you found that are bad, any attachments you found that are bad, pop them back up the line, right? It's great that Karita was trained and could learn about this and dig in, but what would be better is if we can use PhishER to then train up those other systems and ultimately make all of this whole thing top to bottom work a little bit better together, right? So send out via webhook. Last thing I can do is send over to KMSET, and I'll pop over to KMSET in a little bit. That's our main console for phishing and training. But you can send things like, hey, this person sent me spam, or hey, this person found an actual threat, things like that. So from there, I can get all that set up. And then the last thing that I want to talk about here in actions is this last bit, find similar messages. So Karita gets this email, she looks at it, she says, no, this is sketchy. Your team looks at it inside of PhishER and they go, oh man, this is actually a threat. Now I can go in and automatically remove all of these from the rest of my entire organization. Really simple to set up. I'll show you if people have questions on it, but it's just a Azure Enterprise application. It'll tie in with your M365 or with your Google Workspace and just automatically go in there, find similar messages and rip them out of your mailboxes. That already felt pretty cool, but it wasn't quite enough. And whenever we were digging into it, and my boss and I were digging, and we're like, man, why doesn't it feel like we're done? Because when we were first making PhishRip, we were like, man, this is the thing. Now we can finally take since you trained a user, that user can help protect your entire organization. That feels like the last thing that we have to do. And then we did it. We said, man, it doesn't feel like we've quite made it. And then we thought of PhishFlip. So PhishFlip comes in and it says, all right, instead of ripping the message out of your mailbox and just being done with it, that's an important thing, right? You've got to take the threat out of the mailbox. But when you take the threat away and you don't use that as a teaching moment, you're losing something. So we said, all right, let's take the threat away. Take the mail that is dangerous out of their mailbox. And then let's take all of this, the threat attachments inside of that mail. Let's just flip them over to a simulated threat attachment. Any URLs that are threat, switch those to simulated threat URLs. Basically defang the email, but make it look exactly the same. Still the same titles, the URLs still look the same. Just, if you hover before you click them, they're going to go to somewhere not dangerous. And then automatically slide that back in the user's mailbox. And now I'll pop over to KMSAT really briefly. So whenever you're in here, you'll have a new campaign inside of your phishing tests. And now you can see, perfect. I was hoping this one would be there. New invoice. We've just looked at this, right? The same message that was a threat moments ago. Now we can send this to people and see who would actually have clicked and interacted with the bad actor. And we can see that Fritz here got it, opened it, and replied. And now we can go have a talk with Fritz and say, Fritz, buddy, this is dangerous. Here's why. It's like if you see a toddler running with a knife, you don't just take the knife away and laugh at the child and say, look at that dummy running around with a knife. No, you say, hey, this is dangerous. Let me explain to you how to be safe around this. This is how you need to educate yourself so that you don't get hurt with this dangerous object. It's the same thing that we need to do with emails, right? We can take this moment of the actual threat, right? This user got this email and replied back and said something like, oh, yep, I'm ready to get your $1,000. What's the account you need? Or something like that, right? Now, instead of doing that and paying $1,000, they get a message that says, uh-oh, you fell for a phishing test. You can change whatever it says at the end, but you can use it to teach them. Hey, Fritz, this was an actual threat. This is the actual threat. Good for you. You're not in danger. But this is what you should have looked for to know that it was a threat. All right, and I've only got 5 or 7 minutes left. I'm going to talk about reports, and then I'll take a few questions live here at the end. But PhishFlip, freaking love it. I hope you do. Hope you do as well. All right, reports. I really like pretty reports, but more importantly, I like functional reports. So everything I've got here, you can click into, things like that. I hate a report that just looks good and doesn't do much for me. But things that I've found here, so reporter's report. This is one that I like a lot. Last 30 days, I've got it set. We can see Fritz, that same person that just clicked that message and replied back to my threat actor there. I can see Fritz sends me too many messages. He reports messages a lot. So remember I said that you can automate away putting a message into KMSAT. If you have this and say, show me anybody that has sent me more than 10 spam in the last 30 days, maybe we automatically sign them up for training on what we want the Phish Alert button to be used for. Things like that. But we can also see, wow, he's actually also sent us 12 threats. It's out of 140, so we need to train it up. But wow, he's getting targeted a lot, right? Maybe there's things that we can do. We can also see what kind of messages are coming in, who's sending us the most, and maybe even start, removing them. So maybe KnowBe4 demo is not one that I need to look at. Stuff like that. So that's the main thing of reports. here's the dashboard, and then I will pop over here and look and see if there's any questions that I can bounce into here. Alrighty, let's see. Can you limit the recipients of a phish flip to a specific user or group? So sure, with a caveat. There's a couple things that you can do here. So one, let's see, if I come down here. So if I've got a phish flip running, I've got one option. Number one, automatically phish flip it. What that's going to do is take the exact message, defang it, go find out the people that actually had the threat message, remove it, and replace it with this one that looks very similar, right? So that you can't target. If you had the threat, you're getting the phishing test, but it is one because you actually had the threat. What you can do instead of that is just create a phishing template. And what that's going to do is if I come over here and I go to my templates, I'll also have my little phish flip. And then I can come in here. The cool thing about these is you're basically getting the bad actors to create templates for you, right? You're training them on things that aren't just real messages. You know, most of the templates we've got are ones that we found out in the wild, but these ones are bespoke, right? They're ones that went to your organization actually, right? They made it past every layer of defense and depth you've got. They are the real threats for your organization, exactly because they did, right? So you can take these and build yourself a little category here, and now you can use that in a campaign, however you want. Super cool. Then you can target specific users. You can target specific groups. You can have it even, you know, pick from at random from that and have actual threat messages that were delivered to your organization. And this is what you're training on. Super, super cool. All right, what do we got here? Does this work with Google and Microsoft services for PhishER? Yes. So whenever I come in, I will come in, you'll just, you know, add your connection, and then you'll jump in just like that. If you're interested in other things, talk to your CSM, talk to your salespeople. I'm always interested in, you know, what other people use, but I found that I can hit a lot with Microsoft 365 and Workspace. I do get a fair amount of people that are interested in on-prem still. So I'm looking at it. If it's important to you, talk to us. And because I'm always trying to figure out, you know, what's going on with it. All righty, what else do I have here? I've got a couple things. Is there an extra cost for this? Yes, this is a separate product. The way that I always find the pricing, we're not really good at hiding things at KnowBe4. You can just Google it. That's our price there. Obviously, you know, talk to people, but anytime you want to know what we charge for things, we don't like really hiding stuff. Notice this is by a year. This is a lot of people look at these and think it's monthly and they go, wow, this is a little bit steep, but it's actually just wildly cheap. I might be a little bit biased here, right? This is my baby. This is what I was hired for, you know, years ago. So I got a lot of love for PhishER still, but I think it's a steal. Alrighty, are these reported emails? Yeah. So these are reported emails, right? We don't want to be an endpoint protection for you. This is the thing that makes this special, in you know, my humble opinion here, is there's a lot of secure email gateways, and they're pretty dang good at it, right? You can go out there and get them, but there will never be 100% accuracy. There are going to be messages that slip by. That's a terrible thing, and we'd love to get away from that, but it's going to be a while. So what I get to do that's different than those secure email gateways that are, you know, bragging about 15% of all mail sent goes through our system. Super cool. If you're trying to build machine learning modules and AI on 15% of the world's emails, you're going to get a whole lot of garbage. The thing that I get to train my machine learning on is stuff that is human curated, right? A human looked at this. After this message bypassed every layer of defense and depth you've got, A human looked at it and said, man, there's something weird about this. I just don't trust it. Something sketchy, right? And I get to train my cases just on those. So no, this isn't something where you're going to like attach to every mail that comes into your box. PhishER would probably be bad at that, right? I don't train on that stuff. What I get to do is think about what is it that made these special? Why were they able to bypass all of these other automated systems? So super cool. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm already out of time. I always like to talk too much. But yeah. One last fast one, because someone said, how do I get PhishFlip? If you've got PhishER, PhishFlip is part of it. Get in there and turn it on. You'll find it in your actions after you set up PhishRip. So, alrighty, that's it. I hope you've had a lot of fun. Let me stop sharing here, and then we can get up here and pop it back over. So, hope you've had a lot of fun. I hope you learned a lot, and talk to your people. Jump on the PhishER wagon. Thanks, y'all.